Yizani masigcobe kuye uYehova masenze intsholo yovuyo kwilityekazi losindiso lwethu. Masize ebusweni bakhe ngokubulela masenze intsholo yovuyo kuye ngamaculo. Ngokuba uYehova enguThixo omkhulu nokumkani omkhulu phezu kwabo bonke oThixo. Indawo ezinzulu zomhlaba zisesandleni sakhe, indyebo zentaba zizezakhe nazo. Ulwandle lolwakhe walenza nomhlaba owomileyo izandla zakhe zawudala. Izani masibhedeshe sithobe phansi masiguqe ngamadolo ebusweni bukaYehova wasenzayo. Ngokuba yena enguThixo wethu nathi singabantu bedlelo lakhe nezimvu zesandla sakhe. Masiqaleni ke lenkonzo bazalwane ngokokuba sivumeni kunye lambongo umphefumulo wam uyayibonga inkosi. Masibonge bazalwane sifumane isifundo selizwi, isifundo salemini yanamhlanje incwadi Exodus chapter 14. Si ungaqala pha ekuqaleni kodwa ndizawuthatha nje ukusuka kuverse 10 ndiyoma kwiverse ye-18. Ngelwimi lesingisi ifundeka ngalendlela. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots and his horsemen." Eli lilizwi lenkosi yanga inkosi ngasikelela ukufundwa kwezwilayo ngokuze kube ngunaphakade. Theme endinayo ngalemini yanamhlanje i-theme ethi breaking free from cycles, habits and patterns that are unproductive and unhealthy, with a sub-theme ethi it's time to move on. One thing, bazalwane, that I know about uThixo is that he is a God that is forever calling us to move. He called Abraham to move from his own zone to the unknown. It was unknown to Abraham, but it was known to God. In this universe, kwelilizwe siphila kulo, bazalwane bakowethu, everything shifts and changes. And there is a saying, ethi, it is either you are going forward, standing still, or falling behind. Now I want you to ask yourself, whether are you standing still, are you falling behind, or are you moving forward with your life? It is time to move forward. Sometimes people fail to move because they are stuck in a situation. Some are stuck because of disappointments. And today we are looking at a story of the Israelites who found themselves stuck between the Red Sea and the mighty army of the Egyptians. Sometimes we get stuck, bazalwane, in a place or in a situation and end up losing hope, if not becoming comfortable with the situation esizifumana sisitake kuyo. Sometimes we get caught up between two places in such that the middle place becomes a comfortable place, even though it is not a place ebesifuna ukuba kuyo. We find ourselves not being able to go forward, neither going backwards, ingeyiyo isolution, and we find ourselves stuck in the middle. Singakwazi ubheka phambili, singakwazi ubheka emva. And for that matter, as we are stuck phambi kwethu, there is a Red Sea, and emva kwethu there is a mighty army of enemies that is approaching kwimeko esikuyo. We sometimes get stuck to a point that we forget that kakhle we are heading for the promised land. Asiphelelanga kule ndawo esistake kuyo. We are heading to a promised land. Now allow me, ekuseni, as I say, breaking free from cycles, habits and patterns that are unhealthy and unproductive, to alert you that you have not yet arrived in your promised land. You are just stuck, and you are stuck between the enemy and the Red Sea. Having said that, I'm here to say it is time to move on. Let us define these words so that you understand into okokuba siyangaphi. A habit is a regular practice that is deep in our thoughts, and a practice that we can't give up. Cycle is defined as a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. Pattern is defined as a repeated decorative design or a particular way in which something is done. It is time to move on. There are times where patterns, cycles, and habits ezenzekayo in our lives, they happen in an unproductive and unhealthy manner, in such that we become stuck. And I want to say, break those cycles, break those habits, break those patterns, because they are unhealthy and unproductive for your life. Break them and move on. Cambridge Dictionary defines the phrase move on as to leave one place to go to another place. It is to accept that something has changed and getting ready for the new experience. It means when you move on, it means you are starting a new activity. Israel has been delivered from Egypt. They are moving towards the promised land. In this chapter, we see the Israelites being in a difficult spot. Baphakathi kwemeko ezimbini, there is an army that is approaching them, and there is the Red Sea. Lekufuneka banqumle kuyo. They are stuck in between. There is no easy way in their life. Either they turn back and fight the army of the Egyptians, or they risk their lives, get into the Red Sea and drown in the Red Sea, or either they allow themselves to be recaptured by the Egyptians and go back to Egypt and serve the Egyptian. As much as kusenzeka yonke londo, some were wishing in Nokoba Moses should have left them in Egypt ngengabakhuphanga eyiphutha, to a point
yento babambuza into kokuba besingatshongo kuwe na Moses into kokuba musa ukusikhupha ezweni laseYiputa. Bekungekho mangcwabana ezweni laseYiputa lento usikhuphileyo. Bekungekho mntu onotsho kubo ngela xesha into kokuba do not allow your yesterday to define. Do not focus that much on your yesterday in such that you lose focus of your today. If you want to break the cycles and the habits and the unhealthy patterns, consider that whatever decision that you make now, it has an impact in your future. Breaking cycles, habits, and patterns that are unproductive. Why did you bring us here when there are enough graves for us in Egypt? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Did we not tell you that this would happen? As much as they are out of Egypt, their minds are still in Egypt. They are still talking as if they are in Egypt. Izenzo Zabo says they are in Egypt. There are times when we are free, but our minds, our actions, our talk says we are still in Egypt. Everything is still in our mind. It's still in Egypt. We don't want to move out of a comfort zone. They were comfortable in Egypt as much as they were oppressed, but they were comfortable in Egypt. It is time to move out of Egypt. Do not be comfortable ngeYiputa. Even in the present time, in our country, as South Africa, as much as it is more than 25 years, siphumile Yiputa, there are those who speak as if they are in Egypt. There are those who wish to return to the apartheid era. In their minds, baphumile Yiputa. Ngesimo bazibona ingathi baphumile, but in their minds they are still in Egypt. They are speaking a language yaseYiputa. Izenzo zabo zezaseYiputa, kodwa baphumile. Break and move away from those unhealthy patterns. Even when a situation, it is a situation that needs one to stand up and break the cycle. Uzawuva the city. It is because kaloku of the situation esuka kuyo, a situation ye-apartheid. Kudala siphumile ezweni laseYiputa. It is time that we make an effort. Siphume ezweni lobukhoboka. You cannot move forward whilst you are holding on the bad experiences. Zobomi bakho. You cannot move forward whilst you are repeating the same patterns, the same cycles, and you are rereading the previous chapter. You don't want to move from that chapter to a new chapter. Break those cycles, break those habits, break those patterns and move forward. Go verse 15. The Lord said to Moses, why are you crying for help? Tell the people to move forward. Bazalwane, it is time to move forward. Break those patterns. Break those cycles so that you are able to move forward. It is time to move forward. Sometimes we get stuck. Before that, sometimes bazalwane kuyadingeka into kokuba simove and move forward. Why? Ngoba le ndawo kuyo, it is not healthy and productive. Kabla Masiraeli in the Mount of Horeb wavela kubo uThixo and said kubo, kudala nihleli kule ndaba, it is time to move on. Sometimes kudala uhlele endaweni eyodwa unhealthy, unproductive. It is time to move on. Sometimes we get stuck in a situation because we get excited with the mountaintop experience. Uthi wawufika phezu kwendaba ubone into kokuba kule ndaba ohleli kuyo gabla uYesu nabafundi bakhe xa omnye sithi kwanga ingasi ngahlala phezu kwale ndaba sakhe iminquba ibe mithathu. Mntalibali into kokuba the mountaintop experience awuphelelanga kuyo, kufuneka wehle apha phezu kwendaba. Sometimes we get stuck because of those experiences esizifumana siphakathi kwazo. Ndiyakucenga ke, it is time to move on. Sometimes we see challenges empilweni zethu ezenza into kokuba sibe stuck, singakwazi to move forward. For the Israelites, it was a challenge. The Red Sea was a challenge. They did not see a opportunity. They did not see indlela abangaphuma ngayo. They forgot into kokuba apho basuka khona baphume njani, baphume ngabani kule ndawo basuka, bayilibala lonto, and now they are facing a Red Sea that becomes a challenge empilweni yabo. There are times apho siyasilibale apho Thixo sisuse khona nendlela sisuse ngayo wasizisa in another position. Esithi xa sifika kuyo sibone challenges rather than seeing opportunities. Break those cycles, patterns, habits that are unhealthy. uThixo in that challenge uza kuweza ukwenzela intoba ukwazi ukuwelela ngaphesheya kwe-Red Sea. We do not want to move sometimes because of fear of unknown. Fear of unknown becomes stronger empilweni yethu, yenze into kuba singakwazi uadvance to the next level, and we become content, we become stuck. Even in our relationships, abe stuck because akakwazi unala fear of the unknown. Atumdu ngoku relationship that is abusive angakwazi uphuma because of the fear of the unknown, and we end up convincing ourselves that kudala kunje kuyawuhlala kunje futhi akhondo iyawuphinda itshintshe. Ahlale umuntu in a situation emane sithi kudala kunje futhi kuyawuhlala kunje akunawuze kutshintshe. It is a day namhlanje yento kokuba you allow yourself to move on. Sometimes fear makes us to settle for a status quo. Singakwazi umuva. Move out of your comfort zone. Do not settle. Do not settle for status quo. It is time to step and move on. Sometimes we do not move on because we do not want to put action. We do not want to put action. For you to make a step and move, it requires action. Put action and move forward. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "It does not matter what action you do in order to move. Just take a step. If you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. We are not made to stand still. Move forward." Billy Sunday once said, "Too much work of the church today is like a squirrel in a cage. Lots of activity, but no progress." Our lives are like a squirrel in a cage. There is too much of activity, unhealthy activity, unproductive activity, and there is no progress in our lives. Break those patterns, habits, and cycles so that there is progress in your life. Difficulties and disappointments must not be seen as the end of the road. Akuphelendo, it is not the end of the road. It is just a detour empilweni yakho. But keep on moving forward. Moses uthi kula Israel, "Do not be afraid. Stand your ground, and you will see what the Lord will do to save you today." The difference between impossible and possible lies in a person's determination to move. Either you stand still and say it is impossible, or you start moving forward and say it is possible. I will march forward because it is possible. As I close, year in, year out, we hear the same song of people crying about the things that are happening in our community, about the things that are happening in our government, about the things that are happening in one's life. Year after year, it is complaint after complaint, same complaint, same song, day in, day out. It has been a life of complaint and cries. Some have been complaining about racism that is happening. Some have been complaining about the corruption that is in our country. Some have been complaining and crying about their situation, their relationships, their love relationship. Some have been abused for years and years, but they are stuck in one place. And some have been complaining in social media. You can watch Facebook and you will see that there are complaints after complaints. And if you go back in life, you would see that you have been complaining and complaining and complaining. It is time to move on. It is time that the Red Sea, oibonayo, God will give you power and God will part your Red Sea. What is needed is for you to march on and march forward so that the unhealthy patterns and cycles of your life, you break them and move forward. It is time to move forward. Bazawuthi abantu xa bethetha about the challenges zika 2020, about the experiences ze COVID esizifumana sikuyo kulonyaka okanye kunyaka ozayo, when people talking about that challenge kunyaka ozayo, wena you'd be talking about your Red Sea of 10 years back, a Red Sea that needs you just to move forward. Mhlawumbe ubanjwe into kokuba it is a unhealthy and unproductive activity oyenzayo now and again empilweni ya. Break those cycles, break those patterns, break those habits and move on. Izawuweleka i-Red Sea. Apho ukhoyo ayisosiphelo. You need to go to your promised land. Kwanga uThixo anganigcina, anilondoloze, anikhusele, anibusise ngalo lonke ixesha. Kwanga as you are facing your own challenges, kwanga as you try to break the habits and cycles and patterns that are unhealthy in your life, uThixo angakunikeza amandla. And I also pray in Dokokba, if there are habits and patterns and cycles that are unhealthy in my own life, ndiyamcenga uThixo to give me that power to break those cycles and habits and patterns so that I am able to move on. Kwangake uThixo anganenzela ngomusa, aninikeze amandla akhe, anithwale nikwazi uwela, niwelele ngaphesheya. It is time to move on. God's blessing in your life. Enkosi bazalwane for watching this video. Kwanga ingaba imvuselelo empilweni yakho, iphinde ibe imvuselelo nangaphakathi kweyam impilo. Masithandaze xa sivalayo. Heavenly Father, we come before you ngalomzuzu Thixo wethu onamandla amakhulu. Glory and power belongs to you, Thixo wethu oyingcwele. Wazi kumkani yonke into ngempilo yethu, even Thixo wethu izwi lakho mnini wezinto zonke says wazi nenani lenwele esezinhlokweni zethu. Even the challenges esizifumana siphakathi kwazo Thixo wethu namandla, ubuzazi wena ikakade belundini lomnqamlezo. Ndiyathandaza ke Thixo wethu onamandla, ndiyathandaza kumkani kakumkani nangumbukele ekhaya, mnikeza amandla Thixo wethu oyingcwele to break the cycles, habits and patterns that are unhealthy and unproductive Thixo wethu oyingcwele, so that akwazi urealize ubomi bakhe Thixo wethu olungileyo ngoba kumkani when you have came into kokuba we have life in abundance life Thixo wethu echichimayo kumkani ngamanye amaxesha sikwazi ufikelela kuyo because of the unhealthy and unproductive patterns esizifumana siphakathi kwazo yenza ke Thixo wethu into balamazwi abe imvuselelo ngaphakathi kwam abe imvuselelo ngaphakathi komuntu omameleyo kule nkonzo esikuyo egameni loyise egameni lonyana nasegameni lomoya oyingcwele lwaba ufefele Nkosi yethu Yesu Kristu uthando likaThixo bawo nobudlelwane bomoya oyingcwele kwangazi ngaphumla phezukwethu kusephakadeni kanaphakade amen. Blessings bazalwane, enkosi for watching.